The first and only dog I've ever had the pleasure of raising is named Allie. Our story began on a cold December night in Nacogdoches, Texas, where I grew up. That night, the air was thick with silence and frost. I was staying at my grandparents' property, a place filled with memories of climbing trees, catching catfish in the backyard pond, and watching the sun dip below the pine trees. It was the kind of quiet country evening where the only sounds were crickets and the occasional rustle of leaves in the distance. But something was different that night. As I walked past the back of the house, I heard a faint, high-pitched whimper. The noise didn't stop. It grew louder, more insistent. Curious and a little worried, I followed the sound to the old, weather-beaten shed at the far end of that property. The shed had been there longer than I had. It was dilapidated and falling apart, with rusted hinges and broken windows, a place where my grandparents' hordes of junk went to die. I opened the door cautiously and was hit by the damp, musty smell of forgotten things. I scanned the cluttered interior with my flashlight until it landed on a tiny shape tucked behind a leaning bookshelf. There she was, a soaking wet, shivering puppy, barely more than skin and bones. She looked up at me with wide, terrified eyes, her little body shaking from cold and fear. Although her fur was matted, her ribs visible, and she looked like she hadn't eaten in days, her tail was wagging, fast and frantic. My own heart melted at the sight. I didn't even hesitate. I reached out slowly, murmuring soft reassurances, and she let me lift her into my arms. She curled into the crook of my neck like she belonged there. I rushed her inside and filled the guest bathroom sink with warm water. Gently, I rinsed the mud and grime from her fur. She didn't resist, didn't squirm. She just looked at me with eyes full of quiet trust and something I can only describe as gratitude. In that moment, even though she was dirty, cold, and scared, I felt this unspoken connection. I knew deep down that she was meant to be mine. After that night, Allie became part of my world. I made her a warm bed out of old towels, fed her soft food, and watched her grow stronger day by day. With each meal, each nap, each walk around the property, she blossomed. Her fur grew shiny, her eyes brighter, and her little frame filled out. She turned into a lean, muscular puppy with endless energy. I was in awe of how fast she recovered, not just physically but emotionally. The fearful puppy I had found in the shadows transformed into a joyful, mischievous companion. Allie loved to run more than anything else in the world. I would let her loose in the fields behind the house, and she would sprint like her life depended on it. Watching her felt like watching a wild animal reclaim its freedom. Her legs stretched with each bound, ears flopping, tongue lolling out with pure delight. She was fast, graceful, and absolutely fearless. I often wondered if she was a wild horse in her past life. Raising Allie was both exhilarating and exhausting. She was a ball of energy, always wanting to play or explore. I did everything I could to give her the best life. I played with her multiple times a day, taught her how to fetch, sort of. She preferred to chase the ball and then run away with it, and took her on long walks through the woods. Watching her grow up was like watching a miracle unfold slowly in front of me. I had never been responsible for another living being before, and suddenly I was responsible for her whole world. She followed me everywhere. Whether I was raking leaves, fixing a bike, or just sitting on the porch doing homework, Allie was always close by. I used to joke that I didn't need a shadow, but with Allie I had two. She made me laugh constantly. She had this habit of sneaking up behind me and poking me with her cold, wet nose when I least expected it. She'd steal socks and parade around proudly like she'd just won a gold medal. And somehow she always knew when I was sad or stressed. She would nuzzle into my side and rest her head on my knee, looking up at me. She showed me that relationships aren't always about words. I quickly learned that you don't have to speak the same language as your best friend to be truly understood. As she's gotten older, Allie has slowed down. Her sprints have become jogs, and she spends more time napping in sunbeams than chasing squirrels. But even now, her eyes still sparkle with that same spirited energy I saw in the shed. Her tail still wags every time she sees me. She still insists on being right next to me at all times, and I still find myself reaching down to scratch behind her ears without even thinking. Raising Allie has taught me lessons that no textbook ever could. She taught me about real responsibility. I had to feed her, bathe her, clean up after her, and make sure she was safe and healthy. She didn't come with a manual. I had to figure it out on my own, make mistakes, and learn from them. But more than that, she taught me about loyalty, patience, and unconditional love. There were nights when I would lie awake in bed, overwhelmed by school or life or the future, and Allie would curl up beside me. Just her presence made things feel lighter. She reminded me to appreciate the simple things, a warm bed, a full stomach, and someone to love and be loved by. She grounded me in a way I never expected a dog could. She taught me to be consistent, gentle, and forgiving. She showed me that love's an action, something you prove through care, effort, and presence. Now, as I begin this new chapter in my life as a college freshman, I find myself often thinking about Allie. I miss her snoring at the foot of my bed, the jingling sound of her collar as she trots into the room, the way she greets me excitedly like a stranger, even if I've only been gone 5 minutes. I know she's getting older, and I know I won't have forever with her, but I also know that the bond we share is something I'll carry with me always. She takes up my whole camera roll and is a huge part of my heart. I tell everyone who will listen about the night I found her in the shed, about how she changed my life without even trying. I don't believe in coincidences. I believe she was meant to find me, just as I was meant to find her. Even though Allie is no longer a puppy, I still scoop her up sometimes and cradle her in my arms like I did that first night. She's heavier now, slower, grayer, but to me she'll always be that little tan mutt with the wagging tail and eyes full of hope. I know I won't have forever with her, but I also know that what we've shared is timeless. That cold December night gave me more than just a companion. It gave me a source of comfort, strength, and joy that I didn't know I needed. I'm beyond grateful that I was given the opportunity to know a love such as this, and I like to think that I'll find her in every lifetime.